This is not the experience I saw, but the experience I saw was an exceptionally high quality picture. While you're, out in the world, that you can still kind of participate in the world. It looked finally like the quality you would accept. It didn't feel like, oh, maybe next year. It felt good all the way up till their ad campaign showed people ignoring their kids for TV soccer. I don't. That's not cool. What else we saw? This was cool. This was authentic AI. I'll put the link in the chat there. Raymond thinks the ship has sailed, that people are disconnected from the world. I don't know. I don't know. Could be. Could be. I do my best when I'm with my son to not zone out and phone out. These guys were cool. They had a display. Man, their website is nowhere near as good as their in-person event. So here's what they do, right? They record an interview with a person. They index using AI all the different pathways to get to natural answers, and then you have a real-time interaction. Here you can see William Shatner. It looks super cool. Like, just seeing it in person, they had a little box. For anybody who's doing something like this, I'm sure there's people who can recreate it, but these guys are making like museum quality. We don't have footage of Abraham Lincoln, but you can imagine, for the people who are alive today that will become someone like Abraham Lincoln, whether they're in politics or business or culture or otherwise, having that complete scan of them and having that conversation with them based on their information. It's the kind of thing we pictured as a society that is the future. These guys are doing that. Jared says, "What is the world?" Okay. So that's that website. What do we have here? More and more, you're going to see these digital twins. David, you mentioned that Harvey's going to come up with his next weekend. They had this at a booth there. This is just an article from CNET. I don't know if I've got a good link out. No. We're going to get other links out from there. Did I close that? Oh no, if I closed it, I didn't mean to. Yeah, there we go. So just getting AI clones from like very little information, like at a booth, just pasting yourself in. More and more, you're going to see that. There's better instances of it. This one right here, this one was really cool. The Hey Mirror smart dressing mirror. I'll put that in for you guys as well. People seem to love this idea of standing in front of your digital screen and doing what they're calling virtual try-on or digital mirror, where one individual stood and then the different outfits were presented. And in real time, you're standing in front of it looking at yourself. It looked super cool. It looked like the kind of thing you might start to see in shopping malls and high-end clothing stores, which is that you don't have to go and try on the garment to see if it matches your skin tone or if it matches your fit. I think that's going to take off because it just seems super easy to understand. There seems to be low friction. I think people are over the gap of, are you taking my picture and keeping it in a database? I think that's gone. I think smart dressing, smart mirrors, and virtual try-on is going to be a huge thing. I think the technology is getting better and better about the way the garment moves while you move, so that you can be shopping virtually even in your own home. See if that clothing item looks good on you, and then buying it off the internet. These are leaps that we're making. What else do we have here? The glasses. I didn't see too many glasses, David. Maybe you did. I feel like the manufacturers want there to be this real boon of extra reality, augmented reality, virtual reality with wearables. We'll see. The glasses that are available today have certainly crossed the fashionable gap. They no longer look like they're outside of what someone would properly wear. I don't know that everybody wants to look like that, but that's a stylish look. Nothing wrong with that. Some of these glasses are giving heads-up displays. I think it's important to recognize some people are using these things in a work context by having some kind of information built into the glasses like that. Right? So you've got a rectangle of like rounded plastic, and then when the glasses are on, it's easy for the eye to see and sometimes they're just green and digital, but it's information. I think if you worked in manufacturing in a noisy environment where you didn't have hands-free to go to a computer or you couldn't use voice to text because it's loud, but you had glasses that overlaid information, there's a lot of things that have application. But there's just so many companies making AI glasses and virtual glasses. You can see this guy here has got the green display in the reflection of his lens. Um, I don't go wild for them, but I know some people do. And I think more and more you're going to see people are wearing them and you don't even know that they're wearing them. I think that's a thing because these guys look pretty cool, right? The Rog X Reels. I'll put that in the chat. A lot of technology, like David, you were saying, it felt incremental. It didn't feel like exponential. It felt like a little bit better glasses than last year. Did not feel like an explosion of new information. Um, what was on this one here? This thing was pretty cool. A smart lock on your door that recognizes your face, right? So you've got the built-in camera, the doorbell, and then you can unlock through facial recognition. That's really good for kids. I think if you're concerned that your kid's going to lose his key out in the wild on the way home from school, there's a lot of gadgets that I don't know that there's that much changing, that you're really going to get people to convert to a different keyboard. It's the next generation PC keyboard. I don't know. You know what I mean? I guess that's
I
cool.
think there is some interesting things in that space. Sorry, Brad. I think there are some interesting things in those space. Like if you have a UPS or a person coming to deliver something, and you could give them an access between a certain window with their face, right? I think that's some things I've started to see out there
Oh,
that are
yeah.
interesting.
Hey,
Yeah, but the keyboard,
yeah, yeah. Like I'm just showing you guys the
uh,
contrast here that there's. Go ahead.
I just thought when you're ready to get to it, I thought that Harvest booth where we looked at the detecting emotion in your face based on what you're watching, and then remember we went there the first day, kind of the pre CES show. I think it was the same booth. Yeah, I think it was Harvest, and I think it's the second link. But they're a huge, 200-year-old company. Right, and they're all about just intelligence and more on the ad tech side. But I did see last year with this telly, I'm not sure how they're doing, right? Like instead of a Nielsen box, they look for qualified households, and then they'll give you it's HAVAS, I think. AS. Oh, yeah. Um, then they'll give you like a 60, 70-inch TV. Yep, there it is. And then you just watch, and they're reading emotion in your face based on TV shows you watch and commercials you watch is how you react to them, and then they can start to serve you things that'll be of interest. So very interesting.
What about detecting emotion in somebody else's face?
Yeah, I think I think that for sure, like with the glasses.
Yeah, there's so much here on this Havas website, David. It's
Yes, it might be tough. I'll find it. I'm working on to have them come speak and share
was it?
some of those things.
It might have been their all response media. Um,
I know it's part of their media arm, and I
yeah,
think that was
I
just a
think what
new
we
thing coming.
saw. I think what we saw was a one-off demonstration sponsored by Havas.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I think they were the company was using Havas technology and they were showcasing it. Was that one that had like the dirt bike on the demonstration? Anyway, we'll
No, that
keep
was the
going.
one right we walked in that first. Yeah, that was the first day. Anyway, there
Yeah.
was a
No,
lot.
no, I know where you mean because here's these guys, they're CES space, but this website is filled to the rafters with dense text and uh, a lot of hyperlinks here to
Very European.
yeah, Yeah, yeah. You really got to know what you're looking for to get there. Anyway, um, we looked at the emotion. We looked at the X reel. Uh, we looked at story file. We looked at this one. This one was really cool, Michael. I think you were there when we were looking at this from Navi, high speed, high distance scooter that felt rugged and sturdy. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, 40 miles per hour on a scooter. That is fast. Like that is
Dangerous.
exactly
For a scooter,
near-
this is dangerous.
They've
I
made
like
that illegal in
racing,
Ireland, actually.
but that's dangerous. I
Yeah.
like it though.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to go. It's not like two speeds off and dangerous. I think you're welcome to go,
Oh,
as much as you want up to
you could
speed.
tow something with that would be the answer. Is that all that turns into torque if you towed something behind you?
Yeah, I mean, it says the frame supports up to 330 pounds, but the thing here, guys, is it's 56 miles. All right, that's a range like that. That's freedom
Oh, yeah.
within
It's commuting.
Yeah, it is. So, I think more and more people under 35, let's say, are becoming more comfortable completely using the scooter and a backpack, and then anything else they'll just get an Uber for. But I wouldn't be surprised if you started to see that as a small trend, not as like a major trend. But this thing in person was really cool. It's an electric scooter. It's got a really high top speed. It looked gentle. If we can get, is there a and here we go. Let's see if I can get this here. See if we can get a quick video. This is it right here.
Last year, Navi burst onto the electric scooter scene, carbon steel frame, rear hub motor output elements on the NT5 model,
So, yeah.
trade-offs to consider. The focus of all these models seems to be range. Now, for starters, it offers means that the biggest takeaways.
Well, they didn't have it like in use. I thought they might have one, a demonstration.
Here we've got the Navi.
Because
Here we've got
our friend Hassam used it, and I've got the video. It's just on my phone. Anyway, I won't belabor the point. I think those things are going to be really cool. What else did we see? I didn't see this. Maybe Michael did. I was looking for this, but Lego has a smart brick with a tiny chip that enables motion, color, and proximity sensing, and a tiny speaker. It's like a blank canvas, so that when Luke Skywalker's X-wing gets into a dogfight with Darth Vader's TIE fighter, you hear the engines roar to life. It just seems like a really cool reuse of a classic technology like Lego to put like one proprietary brick in per package that will have some kind of interactivity and noise. I genuinely looked everywhere for the Lego booth, but I didn't see it. It looked pretty cool. I'll put that link in there if anybody wants to see it. CES was really great. A lot of great tech. If you're looking for very specific things, people who like the trifold phone, Galaxy has the new trifold phone. I know Alan Smithson raved about it. Just you get the combination of tablet and phone all in one, that they're making them lighter and sleeker and more versatile. And you might say like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to use that. I have to tell you, if you're with someone and they open up a trifold phone and they have a much bigger view of their camera, of the video they're watching, there's a moment where you go, I want that too. But I think it costs a pretty penny. Dan Silverberg with his hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, Brad, did you see anything around wearables, sensors, or health for, data to predictive analytics to that kind of thing?
That's a good question. Here's what I saw that I liked. Eat, Love. This one was really good. So this is a nutritionist making what they were calling like a Spotify playlist for your meals. Imagine that you're in any one of these six major categories of medical or private practice, health plans, fitness, health systems, restaurant, food industry, and retailers. People are craving feedback from their wearables that translates into what they should or shouldn't be eating, and then you're getting like a curated list from a nutritionist. So it's kind of like a feedback loop. The team from Eat Love seemed really excellent. Like I'll put that in the chat as well. Sometimes you see something and you're like, oh, okay, neat concept. These guys seemed like an excellent team. You can see they've got some super top names that they're working with here: USC School of Medicine, Mayo Clinic, BMW, and on and on. Panasonic, like really big names that are working with them. You're going to get mobile meal recommendations app with built-in guidance, restaurant food recommendations to stay on track, food logging, nutrient analysis, a virtual dietitian, personalized meal plans, grocery lists, 7,000 plus recipes, things like that. I think that was really cool. I didn't dive in too deep into the wearables plus medicine. David, maybe you did.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was something more updated than the Whoop, Garmin, Fitbit sort of Aura Ring. Is there like the next generation or not so much?
Good question. We could Google that.
I have somebody that did like an exoskeleton. I forgot his name. I'm looking it up. While I'm doing that, Raymond, do you have a
Yeah,
comment or
I just saw
question?
on the previous screen you showed, Brad, at the very bottom, there was the category winner, Coro, Coro, at the bottom of that, the very bottom. Oh, it's gone this time. Okay, it just was a pop-up. Okay, Coro
Here you go.
was, or maybe that's it. Yes, there it is. That is an Irish inventor who I know personally, but basically it's a breastfeeding monitor where it's
Yes.
just watching the flow of the breast milk, which I thought was an interesting application. It's niche,
Yeah.
but it's a very important problem.
Yeah, I did see that. And the idea behind it is that you have no idea how much a baby has had to eat, and you don't know if they're 1 ounce shy of what they need or 10 ounces extra, because the human body doesn't have like an accurate sense. And for babies, you don't want to over or underfeed them. This is a hygienic pass through, and as the liquid passes through, it measures the fluid volume. So you can say if and when your infant or your newborn or your child has had whatever amount of liquid that you want to have given. Yeah, it's a liquid pass through to count.
Or if you need to supplement with formula, for example.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, if the mother runs out and she goes, oh, I'm 2 ounces shy of what I normally do, you wouldn't go make an 8 ounce bottle for anyone that's had a baby. Some babies you can't make them eat, and some babies you can't get them to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. CES is an ever-changing world. I have not been as much as David. David, I know you've been many, many, many times. My sense was some people are experiencing AI fatigue, that everything was AI, and yet, it's like when electricity showed up, you're not going back. You're not going to say, and here's the hand-powered egg beater, and here's the hand-powered everything else. You're going to want something that has a data-driven approach that can be automated or augmented with some kind of machine learning or some kind of algorithm. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I see
Find
Jared's got his
an
hand up.
exoskeleton.
An
Jared's got
exoskeleton?
his hand up.
Did I hear exoskeleton?
I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find it.
Oh, yeah,
Jared,
yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, what's up, Jared?
So with the advent of AI and everything and biohacking and people's awareness of that world and epigenetics and the effects of EMFs, was there any talk with any of the companies talking about mitigating the EMFs by things like wearables, like the glasses? I know that one of the effects of having ear pods is essentially having more EMFs than a microwave pointing at your brain if you wear Bluetooth earbuds. So with wearables that people are so on board with, which seem amazing, I'd love to use the tools. Has anybody talked about shielding or counteracting that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had a conversation with guys at the airport who have a a wireless booster technology, and they were talking exactly about that. They were saying so far as all their in-office computers were hardwired and not Wi-Fi. So certainly there are some people that have that on their radar. Did I hear a solution? I didn't hear a solution as much as I heard people saying like, it's hard to believe that, things like Wi-Fi enabled anything, your smart fit, accurate reader all has an electronic magnetic frequency. If I understand EMF right, but it's a frequency, it's some kind of signal. You know, it's it's right for a solution, Jared. That's a good thing to point out.
Yeah, and to answer your question earlier, when my comment on what is the world, I was continuing the joke when he said, "I think the ship has sailed, and people have disconnected from the world," and I immediately came in and said, "What's the world?" as a joke. But
Oh yeah,
apparently,
no.
people didn't get the joke.
If you live in TikTok and YouTube, the world is on a 4-inch screen.
Yeah. But great info. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for bringing it back.
Martin,
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
as usual interested in hearing tech, and I read about some boots. Did you get to check them out? There was some glasses with inbuilt hearing aids, and also some new OTC over-the-counter hearing aids on the
Yeah.
show.
I know that those things exist. My aunt has a hearing aid that now gets her Spotify and her phone calls. So I know that technology has made massive, massive leaps. For her, it's a new device, I think, in the last year. I know that for people who are using hearing aids, that you've now brought your smartphone technology into them, so you can answer calls, you can get your music playlists or your audio books. It's a massive leap, but personally, that wasn't on my radar. I don't know that that's my field of expertise. So even
If I can just add something on that, I used to work with some of the hearing aid manufacturers, and their whole thing was how do you make it smaller and smaller and less obtrusive? And then they saw people with these big Wi-Fi enabled or Bluetooth enabled devices. So they have taken heart from that and saying that let's put a lot of the electronics into this. Let's not worry about making it so sub-miniaturized because people aren't worried about their earbuds and things like that. So they are now going into a category that they call hearables, which is kind of hearing and wearables, but that they're putting a lot more of the electronics into the hearing aids and they're joining the wearable race as well, including kind of sensors about all kinds of bodily situations. And also, things like a lot of the hearing aid people now are talking about using AI, again, AI technology to filter out unwanted sounds or that you can zone in on conversations or you can go to a rock concert, so all of those kinds of different functionality. So a lot more of it's coming now.
Okay, yeah, right. The cross-talking, I think what Martin's come up with, I haven't seen anything like it, so it's interesting. Martin, you should get with them. And I saw as far as sleep, like things you would put in your ear, and some people that have trouble sleeping, and some people have ringing in their ears. I saw a couple of solutions for that, but they didn't. It seemed like things were coming out this year. Anyway, I have some stuff for you, Bart, that I'd sent that I haven't gone through all my stuff yet and distributed it. So I will. And we can go through, right? I think it's just good to go through these shows that they have and go through have your deep research, go through GITEX and go through CES and look at every exhibitor and find companies that are in your area. I think is a great way to approach some of this stuff.
Yeah,
and
I'm
we
trying
go
to
through
think.
that.
What else I saw was a metal 3D printer. Someone was using metal and then 3D printing with some forms of metal. It's a really novel way. You know,
You see it. You see
Go
it in
ahead.
dentistry. You see it in this is Richard. You see it in dentistry quite a bit. So one of the easiest is cobalt chrome. I mean, the trouble there is with the porosity of the material. So, and I'm going to paraphrase my old American colleague. So it leaves the micron sensitivity is too much. You're basically creating little Taliban caves for your bacteria if you put it in clinical medical use. I hope this is not live, but this is live.
Yeah, this was less medical, dental, in body, and more just using 3D printers to shape metal to perhaps like a missing part from mechanics, or imagine you're just a remote industrial location and it's a $3 part, but it's a 5-hour journey. All of a sudden, that
Or if you're on
$3
a
part
space shuttle,
costs you.
if you're in space station.
Exactly. So, but you can do a digital twin with a printing of a bone structure in the form of alloy. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. And I've been following that. I think the first SLM we've been building at our factory at Dentsupply in 2010, and it was based on an STL file because it's of a lower size when you ship it. And basically what we did is we used a CBCT, so a cone beam CT, send it basically via email, because otherwise the files would be too big, because usually it's 10 megabytes, usually .stl. It's built out of triangles. And then we basically built a single jaw bone, and especially in compromised cases. But now moving to cobalt chromium, you get the quality better. But I think it's a tech we've been pioneering for 13 to 14 years. Voted Factory of Europe for 3 consecutive years. But it's I think on CES it's moving more to consumer health as well. And I think it's good to get more insight on that part. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, anyone else? Questions, comments? Cars, do we even call them drones if they can take humans around? I mean, those were cool.
Yeah,
Michael.
right. Yeah.
I know Michael got over the Venetian a little more.
Sorry, David, what did you say?
No, just if there were anything that caught your eye at CES. Like I said, you went to the Venetian. I didn't make it over the Venetian this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just anything like the blue eye.
There were, I mean, we kind of mentioned it last week, but there were robots that do pretty much everything, like folding your laundry, doing manual labor, chores. Some of them were humanoid, some of them weren't. But it seems like a lot of tasks that are performed by humans, like blue collar jobs, can be performed by robots as well. And we were seeing a number of those. And there was a lot of vehicles. Brad showed the scooter. There was a number of classy looking, high quality scooters. I mean, there's
those stair climbing Roombas.
Right.
Yep. There's always the swimming pool robot and things like that. I had one more, David, that I wanted to show you guys. Was SoundHound AI. They're calling it voice commerce. There's in-car voice commerce and in-television voice commerce, where you're watching TV and you just say, "Hey, television, order me a pizza," and it will. There's signs that hungry. Now you can tell your TV to order delivery. And I'm looking at my phone, when you talk to it, 3 rows of pizza photographs showed up on your television in that nice big size and nice big font, and you just said what you wanted. So you can extrapolate the concept of in-car to in-home to television. You just saw the pictures of the food and you just said out loud, "I'd like that hamburger. Deliver that to me right now, please." What's nearby and open would show you thing. You go, "I'd like tacos," and the taco menu comes up. You go, "I'd like chicken," and they're like, "Okay, I want the sauce." It's an overlap of technology in your living room and your screens and your voice, and your wallet. So everyone knows you have all of those things. Almost every person in the modern world has a voice and a wallet and a credit card and an appetite for consumerism, and some large screen, and they just put them all together. And they're like, "Great, you can just talk out loud to that big thing you're looking at, and we'll bring you that thing you want." and you could pay for it, and it's frictionless. You're all signed up. You didn't have to, squint and figure it out. I think most of us get it right away, but it's seamlessly integrating into your car and into your living room. And that's Sound Hound. I'll put the link in there as well. Again, some of these websites, what I saw at CES and what's on their main page aren't the same thing. Because when I look at it, this looks opaque for me to figure out which one is the television one. If someone sees it, shout it out. But the Amelia platform means nothing to me.
Right.
But voice, I think, is a major, major trend. I think you're going to start to see voice happening. And you can see here big names: Applebee's, Firehouse, Krispy Kreme. Some of them I haven't loaded because it just says company logo, but you get the idea. White Castle.
Yep. And just listening, right? And I think there were a lot of devices. I was surprised to see so many of the medical devices that were already HIPAA compliant. So it looks like they're making some headway there. But Jared, go for it.
Was there any talk, or did you see anything specifically about the security industry and how jobs like security officers who roam a location, how that can be replaced or is likely to be replaced, or just in general, the entire security industry? Was that something that was covered?
Didn't catch my radar, and I'll tell you, most of what I saw at CES was not about replacing people, it was augmenting people. I didn't see too much that was just like get rid of people and have robots. It was like give people robots or use robots. I didn't see. Do you mean like security guards, or do you mean like crypto security?
Oh no, security guards, like actual physical security of people and property.
I mean, I saw the fighting robots. It was pretty gimmicky. It was kind of terrifying. They put boxing gloves on them, and they had a ring, and they had a robot referee, and they had people put the robot referee in between two robot boxers, and these things kick the crap out of each other. Like you wouldn't want to get in the way of this. This looked like a real deal thing.
So like the movie Real Steel, but smaller?
Yeah, they were like 5 feet tall. They were like they were not toys. They were over 4'8". Like there were people there smaller than this machine. And does it replace the junkyard Doberman? Not yet, but maybe. It's.
And then Brad, with the glasses, did you see anything? Kim had put this message in the chat earlier. They could just auto correct your vision. Right? Like if we have these,
that would be a
right,
challenge.
I was just thinking, it could.
I know there's a few companies that are doing it now. Like I'm going to check it out when I'm in Japan this summer. But yeah, very interested in that technology.
Would that like de-blur text or make things nearer or magnify or amplify?
Like some kind of glass that, yeah. I mean, I think it auto focuses so that instead of having progressives or bifocals, it depending on where you're looking, it auto does it.
Right. Or if you go to the doctor and get an updated prescription, it change. I just got my first prescription for glasses, Jerry. I haven't told you yet. But now I'm
Welcome
like,
to the club.
This whole industry. Do I want this? Do I want that? Anyway, I'm still looking for the ones they have in the jerk. They'll stay on my nose. No. Right.
Nice.
Dave, it's a slippery slope. That's where it starts.
I know. It's all downhill from here. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I want to jump back to Jared's question for a second. There's a very wealthy individual, happens to be in Toronto, and it's not you, Brad. You're another Torontonian, I know. It was great hanging out with you. In any event, back to Toronto, very, very successful investor in the medical field. And he demonstrated to me, it's not a secret, it's not proprietary in the sense I'm not allowed to talk about it, but they have created security software, and they're prototyping a lot of this in Las Vegas. You know, Las Vegas is very security sensitive because they don't need the punters coming in to gamble their money and getting robbed in the parking lot. Not good for the reputation. So fast forward and getting to the point, what this does is it watches people as they move. Like, did they get out of a car? What direction did they go to after they left their car? Or they're going back toward, etc. And it begins to assess the behavior and then begins to build a risk profile. We're concerned about this creature.
Wow.
And it'll draw attention to security that's maybe watching on monitors saying, keep an eye on Elmer Fudd over here, because we're seeing behavior that blah, blah. So anyway, Jared, it's not a replacement for like a robot to be walking around the parking lot, but it is software that begins to assess the behavior of moving things and then connects that to the security protocol.
We should really get Dr. Adrian on here, Brad, to speak about some of this too, right?
I actually think my friend is a high-level executive in that company. He's a colonel in the army, and he got recruited to work for a company that does exactly what you're saying. And I think it's like the leader. They have a lot of huge government contracts. What's the name of the company? I'll ask him.
I don't even know the name of the company, and I can look up the name of the guy and connect you. But he's got many companies, so I don't know.
Yeah, please. That would be awesome if it was the same company.
Sure.
Yeah, who David mentioned though, Dr. Adrian Bozecki, who's also a Toronto guy, he spent, I think, a half or 2/3 of his year in Vegas for like 8 or 9 years. He had a double PhD in like computer engineering, and he brought his PhD to the Vegas casinos writ large. I think he was in all the major casinos, and his breakthrough technology was on predictive behavior. So if I'm about to touch the microphone, which could be a chip or a card or something in the casino, they would know in advance predictive behavior that you were about to do that, and they are able to reduce risk of theft by employee, which I guess is greater than theft by patron. So his predictive behavior algorithm might be the foundation of that or a companion to that, but certainly, Jerry, if you want to connect people, Adrian Bozecki is part of the creator community.
Cool. Okay, I'll follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation about that. But Raymond, go for it.
Yeah, one of my clients is involved in loss prevention, which is doing, kind of the self-checkouts to make sure that people aren't just stealing stuff at the checkout. So they've done a lot of stuff with computer vision AI, with just overhead cameras, looking at how people are moving. And their whole thing is that their AI now is product aware, it's action aware, it's people aware. So when you combine all of those things and it's environment aware, so it can look at something and see that, like it used to be that with computer vision, that you have something kind of looking above and you say, oh yeah, that's a banana. But now it's not just that. You're saying this is a hand. No, this is an action performed by a hand. For example, he picked something up, he scanned it, he dropped it. Or he picked it up and dropped it without scanning it. And from that being action aware, they now are able to build up a picture that consultants, SAP consultants would go into a factory and they interview 20 people as to how you do this to try and work out what the process is. But people lie to the consultants, or they're trying to impress, that they're trying to really sound that they're doing their job well. So they make up these stories. So the picture that the consultants make isn't a real picture. And then they base that, and then they come up with recommendations for how we're going to do this. They give the new process, they hand it over, and they walk away and hope to God that it works. Whereas this system here can look at what's going on and just infer what's happening. And if I can give an example, the click and collect in supermarkets, that people drive into the supermarket, they check in with their car, they sit in the car, they open the trunk, a staff member comes and loads it. So we had this camera set up there, and we said that, oh yeah, and they get out of the car, and said, no, they don't get out of the car. We said, no, in 60% of the cases, they're getting out of the car. But everybody denied that anybody ever gets out of the car. But we were able to work out that actually this system is broken, and that we could see it from the reality of looking with the cameras. But you're right that, from this intelligent cameras looking at this, that it's not just looking at the scene and identifying an object, which was kind of traditional computer vision, but now we're able to infer actions and from that infer a process, because a process is a series of actions. And then we can influence those actions as well by putting in nudges or simulations of nudges to see how can you change behavior, for example, to make somebody walk around a pillar rather than, to walk to the left of the pillar, they can walk to the right of the pillar. So those kinds of things that you can put in and see how that behavior will change. Sorry, I don't hog the microphone for too long.
Thank you, Raymond. Okay, Harry, you're up.
Not too long at all, Raymond. This is fascinating to me. I got to tell you, I was just reading a report on the bottom line is they say a 5-year-old child takes in more data than all the large language models or all the AI combined right now, right? It understands gravity early on because of all this stuff. And so the new AI, what they're trying to do is use the physical world, right? And so they're using these cameras to see what happens. There's the hand, it's pushing the bottle, it's bringing it back, and I can share the YouTube that I was watching on this report. Are you seeing anything in that space? This is the new way to train some of these models using the physical world? Because I find this fascinating, and this is just going to accelerate it to the next level, right? In terms of
absolutely. If the question is to me, Harry, for example, if you look out in your back garden, you can see that the grass needs to be cut. There isn't a tag out there saying grass needs to be cut, but you can look and you see that the color has changed or the length of it's changed or the way that it's blowing in the wind. So there's a lot of visual rich information that isn't tagged textually. And LLMs are all about the textual world, which is a very, very structured world as well, because again, language is structured. Our real world is unstructured, and you're correct. There's so much richness. And that's why computer vision is a big step forward from the LLMs, because there's a lot more richness in this unstructured data. Now, it's much more difficult for people to deal with the unstructured data. And most of the people who are talking about AI these days, they're taking an easy task, that they're just playing around with predictive models around language. But the unstructured data or the extra sensors, like, the sense of gravity, or when you fall down that you feel pain, those kinds of things, that's something that doesn't come from text, but it does come from real world experience. So if you can find ways of processing that real world experience through sensors, and the area that I've been spending a lot of time in the last few years is in this computer vision AI.
Yeah, and vision was one part of it, Raymond, because they're also talking about the robotics, right? And not just a 2-armed humanoid one, but a 8-armed, and all that data feedback combined. It's
Yeah, and I used to work in Japanese factories, and a lot of the Americans used to copy the Japanese, and they used to do robots. But if you look at nearly every robot, it's an arm picking up, and the distance from the elbow to the wrist is the same as the distance of elbow to the wrist in a human. And why do you do that? Whereas in the Japanese factories, we used to just send something down a slide, or we'd blow it with a gust of air. So that was our version of robotics. It didn't necessarily need to simulate that stupid human thing that took millions of years to have evolution to, that there's much more efficient ways of carrying out a task very often.
all right. And again, what Elon does so well, go back to first principles, right? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And humans do it this
And
way.
question the assumptions, yes.
Right, nice. Interesting.
I think Raymond, Nolan Bushnell used that in his Chuck E. Cheese. If you guys know Nolan Bushnell, who founded Atari and then had famously hired Steve Jobs and almost owned a third of Apple, and then he had Chuck E. Cheese franchise. He said in making the band, the mechanical creatures on the stage and all those franchise restaurants, he said that air was actually better than anything because it could withstand the most instances. You could use it like an untold number of tens of thousands of times just by blowing air through the machines, which gave it that like harshness that some of you are familiar with. Because exactly what you're saying is he didn't rely on traditional thinking of just like it has to be wires, it has to be mechanical. He said actually air is better.
Yeah, totally. Nolan is inspirational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
He is. David, we talked CES. Are we going to talk AI or are we going to let it breathe here? What do you think?
Yeah, well, we can certainly talk some AI or, any questions or anything, Brad, like this week.